Okay, so we were discussing from Adhuri Kadamani. We discussed Adhu Sarupta, then Parasanga, then Kriya, then Anartha Nivriti. And that we discussed uh, the anarthas which are arising from our piety, Sukrututta Anartha, then the anarthas arising from our impiety, Dukkhrututta Anartha. Then we were discussing Aparadha, and we took this section of Lord Kapila also in reference to that how when someone respects, then he can avoid aparadha, mainly because of pride, mainly because of not respecting, one commits offenses. And offenses are very considered very serious. There is one pastime that how in Vrindavan there was one person whose name was Rup Kaviraj, and he was a great scholar, and he would chant whole day and read whole day. That was the only service. But he became proud because of his learning. And there was one Vaishnavi who was also a great lady, Krishna Priya. So he criticized Krishna Priya, saying that she just showing off, she has problem with character, and she's not a lady who is advanced. So although this Rup Kaviraj was so learned and so much was chanting the holy name, but because he happened to offend Krishna Priya, uh, and he was staying in Vrindavan, this Rup Kaviraj. But because of that offense, he became mad, and then he came out of Vrindavan, was wandering in the forest. Then there he was killed, and then he becomes a ghost. Because this Krishna Priya Vaishnavi, who was a great devotee of the Lord. So we see that how this is one aspect which is time and again mentioned, highlighted in the scriptures, that if you want to advance in spiritual life, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in this life, take one vow, I will never offend a sadhu. This is very important. So in the same discussion here, further it is mentioned that we are living in the culture of sacrilege, the culture of aparadha. So the difference between modern culture and Vedic culture is that in the Vedic culture, everything is considered very sacred. Whereas in the modern culture, everything is considered very ordinary. That is one difference in the both cultures. So you'll find in our Vedic culture, even the Prithvi was considered very sacred. People after getting up, they would, before keeping their feet, they would offer their prayers to earth. Then only they would keep their feet on earth, because it was considered very sacred. Parents were considered very sacred. Teachers were considered very sacred. The place of birth was considered very sacred. Everything was considered very sacred. Trees were considered very sacred. Nature was considered, rivers, and so on. Whereas in the modern culture, we see everything is considered very ordinary. And because of this reason, there is a tendency to take them cheaply. That this kind of attitude to consider everything ordinary sometimes reflects in spiritual life also. When we go to some spiritual places, or when we deal with spiritual paraphernalia, so we may take them also ordinary, although they are not ordinary. We have to know when we come to spiritual life, sometimes we may not understand that how they are very special, but we have to know anything connected to Krishna holds a very special position. Sometimes a devotee may have certain shortcomings and so, but because he chanting holy names of the Lord, he is connected to Guru Parampara, he is in a very special situation. Especially if there is a devotee who is properly following his superiors, he is in good connection with Guru Parampara, and he is taking to the altar of the process of sadhana bhakti, then no matter how many shortcomings he has, we cannot offend him, because he is very rightly situated. So we have to know that how it is very important. Then he quotes this verse, that how we have to respect, give due respect as per the level of a devotee. कृष्णेति यस्य गिरितम मनसा इन्द्रियेता दीक्षाति चेत प्रणतिभिश्च भजन्तम् ईशम् शुश्रूषया भजन विज्ञमनन्यम् अन्या निन्दादिषु निहृतम् ईप्सितः तन्वलब्धया. So one should mentally respect a devotee who is chanting the holy names of the Lord, although he may not be following even regulative principles. But because he is chanting holy names of the Lord, he may not be regularly chanting, he may not be chanting 16 rounds every day. But because he chants, he has some affection towards the holy names of the Lord. We have to respect him. That is Krishna Yasya Giritama Manasya Indriya. How we have to respect? Mentally we should respect. But then somebody who has taken initiation, who has taken a commitment that I will chant 16 rounds every day, I will follow 4 regular principles every day. We have to pay obeisances to such a person. Because now he is connected to Guru Parampara and committed to the process. Whereas in the first category, he may not be connected to Guru Parampara and is not committed to the process, but still somehow or other he is taking up the process. Whereas second category is committed to the process and connected to Guru Parampara. So he should be paid obeisances. And then those who are Uttam Bhagavat, for them we should serve, we should hear, take their association. So they are considered very exalted. And what is the special quality to know that who is how much exalted? That is mentioned here as Nindadi Sunni Hirdam Ipsita Sangalabdhya. Nindadi Sunyam Hirdam. To the extent one is free from the tendency to criticize others, Nindadi Sunni Hirdam, that much advanced he is. So this is one way to judge ourselves, how much my heart is free from this tendency to criticize others. To that extent, I have made spiritual advancement. And it is not easy. Only a pure heart will have no desire to criticize others. One of the reasons you see we are not able to appreciate others is because our own heart is full with so much criticism for others. And we are self-absorbed in our own glories. We are self-absorbed in our own appreciation. Like we see His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, for Bhakti Maharaj, he spoke 6 hours glorifying, or any senior Prabhupada disciple or any devotee. For him, it is so natural to speak 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, glorifying them. That means how much he must be meditating on the glories of others. Whereas in our case, if somebody says, Prabhu, all the devotees who have come in your life till now, please glorify all of them. Together also, if you glorify, we may not glorify more than 1 or 2 hours. If somebody says, Prabhu, you have to glorify yourself, then we can break the record. Then we can cross 6 hours also. So when somebody is not having a heart, which is having this tendency to criticize others, he only can appreciate people like this. Otherwise, it is very difficult. So Nindadi Sunyam Hirdam. And in our bhakti, the faith plays a very important role. So it is very crucial in our bhakti that we never associate with those who criticize others, because that breaks our faith. And there are some devotees, they have some bad experience or they have certain situation. And because of it, they may speak ill about certain devotees or about ISKCON or so and so. But we have to be very careful. We should not take their association. We should not hear from them. This is very dangerous for our bhakti. And we have to see that we have to progress in this way, that Nindadi Sunnihitam, we don't find fault in others. That is a sign, and that this quality is very much appreciated by the Lord. Instead of seeing fault, if we focus on seeing good, this quality is appreciated by the Lord. And this is a cultivation. The more we cultivate this particular aspect where we try to see good in others instead of seeing fault. Seeing fault has become natural for our system because that's how we are. But we have to change. And now instead of focusing on seeing fault, we have to see good qualities in others. Then we'll make spiritual advancement. Because then we'll have a right attitude where we are able to see connection of the Lord with other devotees, where we are able to see the process working. Once in Pune, there was one devotee who all devotees had a lot of issues with him, and he was disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So when Maharaj came, all the devotees, the managers, they thought, now we will express to Maharaj, what kind of devotee is he. So when Maharaj came, so they started telling, ye devotee aisa hai, aisa hai, aisa hai, aisa hai. And then they thought, now Maharaj, after hearing, Maharaj will take some, serious stand or action against him. So then Maharaj said, does he come for Mangal Aarti? And he goes, yes, Maharaj, Mangal Aarti ke liye aata hai. And Maharaj said, does he take Charnamrit every day? हाँ Maharaj, Charnamrit तो लेता है. Then why to worry? इतने सारे कंप्लेंट्स थे. महाराज होता है वो मंगलाती अटेंड कर रहे हैं, चरणामृत पी रहे हैं, तो चिंता क्यों कर रहे हो, शुद्ध हो जाएंगे. You see how the vision is different. They have so much faith in the process, and they know that how this process will help him, and they are focusing on that aspect of that they are doing something good. Right? So Nindadi Suni Hridayam, that is mentioned, that this is the quality of Mahabharata. Then it is mentioned about Seva Aparadh. So generally, Seva Aparadh are not considered so serious offenses as Nam Aparadh. So Seva Aparadh, if they happen unknowingly, then by sincere repentance and continuing our service along with chanting the holy names, they are taken care of. But Nam Aparadh, they become very serious. And in Nam Aparadh only come Vaishnava Aparadh. One of the first offense in the holy name is the offense to the Vaishnava. So there are many Seva Aparadh, but they will not obstruct our progress till they come to Nam Aparadh. So here it is mentioned, but still one should not be careless and take advantage of being protected from all the effect of Seva Aparadh. If he is not careful and he is careless, then the Seva Aparadh may become Nam Aparadh. Then there will be obstruction in his progress. He is guilty of Nam Aparadh, of committing sin on the strength of the holy name. If he is committing some Seva Aparadh, thinking that anyways, I am chanting holy names of the Lord, it will be taken care of. So then that becomes a seventh offense against the holy name, where he is committing offense against the strength of the holy name. So here it is mentioned what to say of the committing such offense against the holy name. Even in Karma Kanda, if somebody is thinking like this, so here it is mentioned, a devotee may commit sin by accident, but even so he is unable to abide by the misery of ritualistic atonement. The devotee's fall into sin is momentary. It does not become a habit. It is merely passing phase that is drowned in the nectar of the holy name. On the other hand, if someone thinks that because the name is powerful, he may go committing sin, he is fickle and undependable. So somebody takes the shelter of the holy name to continue his sin, then that becomes a aparadh. Otherwise, by chanting the holy names of the Lord, his offense will be taken care. So same thing is mentioned further also. So now he says in other processes also, like Dharma Shastra, that means even in Karma Kanda, if somebody is doing some offenses, thinking that later on I will atone for it, then that atonement also will not work. So what to say of committing offense against the holy name, thinking like this, that if I later on chant, the offense will be taken care. Even in the process of atonement, it is mentioned. If somebody is committing sin, thinking that, anyways, later on I will do prashchit, then the effect of the sin will not be destroyed, but rather increased. So instead of destroying the effect, the atonement process will increase the effect. Like this. So such atonement is not recommended. in the scriptures. And as far as bhakti is concerned, in the process of bhakti, we don't have to take shelter of any atonement process. Why? Because bhakti itself is everything. Bhakti itself takes care. We have to just continue bhakti. Only thing is, what mistake we have done, sincerely we have to repent. Sincerely we have to commit not to repeat them and take shelter of bhakti. We don't have to worry about prashita. We don't have to worry about sinful reaction. That bhakti will take care. So much we were discussing about aparadh from so many classes. Someone may ask, why so much discussion on aparadh? So here it is mentioned. If you are not careful about aparadh, then first thing what happens is closing the heart of the object of our offense. So our heart becomes closed for that. So in one way, any offense we do to any devotee, it is related to Krishna also, because ultimately it is Krishna who is taking care of that devotee. So our heart becomes close to the devotee also and to the Lord also. And second is our consciousness becomes gross and attracted to material things. This happens by the offense. So basically two things happen by offense. Ruchi for the Lord increases, ruchi for Maya increases. So ruchi for the Lord, it decreases, and ruchi for Maya increases. This is what happens by the offense. And we see one great personality, you see Sabri Rishi, how much intense sadhaka he was. None of us will have that intensity where he went inside Yamuna water to do his 24/7 intense sadhana with a desire that nothing should obstruct my sadhana. Such intensity of sadhana, Savri Rishi. But because he happened to offend, he became attracted to attraction to lust, seeing the meeting of two fishes. We see that how the ruchi for the spiritual life goes and ruchi for material life increases. That's what happens by aparadh. Like this. About Bharat Maharaj also, Srila Jiva Goswami analyzes that why Bharat Maharaj, who reached to the platform Bhava, got attracted to a deer. So he says in the previous life he offended. And because of that, in this life, he got attracted to a deer. So we see that how the senses, they play a very serious role, very serious consequence we have because of the offense. Sometimes within devotee circle also you will find that some devotees are not careful and they may hurt other devotees, or they may not be careful to respect devotees. So you find them, their material desires increase. They hanker for post, they hanker for followers, they hanker for resources, they hanker for respect. They respect me, they respect me. Why suddenly this all comes? Because we are offending. And the more offense we do, that much these things will happen. And they will have difficulty to chant. Why? Because of offense, the ruchi in the spiritual life is going down. So it is very serious, very important. Raghunath Goswami, if somebody would come, I want to tell you about one devotee. And before he would speak, he would close his ear saying, I don't want to hear anything about him. He's a devotee, that is enough for him. So he would never hear any blasphemy. Nowadays you see, because of YouTube and because of social media, because of networking, WhatsApp and so much, people do so much prajalpa, and most of the prajalpa is Vaishnava Parad. ये डिवोटी ऐसा करता है, वो डिवोटी ऐसा करता है, उस डिवोटी के साथ ऐसा हो गया, उस डिवोटी के साथ ऐसा हो गया, और हम भूल जाते हैं कि उनके साथ क्या हुआ नहीं हुआ वो बात की बात है, लेकिन हमारे साथ कुछ हो रहा है. It is affecting our spiritual life. So we have no business in trying to see fault in so many devotees and discuss about it. In one lecture, Sadhanath Maharaj was telling, tell you guys, age of gossip and prajalpa. There is such a tendency to talk, especially about faults, especially about negative things. If you tell him that, oh, can you please share what you read in his Prabhupada book? then complete silence. Then he closes. But if you tell him that, can you tell about what all things are happening, then he will open like that. You have to know it is very serious. As many devotees we are offending or we are discussing their faults, that much our ruchi for Krishna is going down. And that much our material hankering, material desires, they will increase. We have to see. And you will find one of the quality of the great soul is that they don't want to hear negative things about others. They don't want to criticize others like this. And that's how they have that taste for the holy name. That's how they are able to value the process of Krishna consciousness. So in our case also, we have to know that offenses, they have a very big role to play. In one lecture, Gauranga was telling that, I don't know from where he quoted because I have not found till now, but he was saying that if somebody commits 100 offenses, then mind becomes distractive in chanting. Somebody commits 1,000 offenses, then he feels sleepy in the chanting. If somebody commits 10,000 offenses, then he cannot chant. Like that, some number also he was quoting. So offense has a lot of relevance to how much we are able to take shelter of the process. Sometimes very casually we talk about somebody, very casually we hear about somebody, but we are not supposed to. Can you see in the scriptures there are very strong statements that if somebody is being criticized, then you should leave that place, not be at that place. Even it may be something related to certain situation. We have to be very careful. We can't afford to hear blasphemy of anyone like this. We have to be very serious. And he says, if somebody is doing, then what will happen? It will affect our consciousness. So one affected, the ruchi for the Lord reduces, ruchi for material things increases. Third thing is, the greatness of a spiritual thing will appear ordinary in our consciousness. And you will not be able to so much value holy name. You will not be able to so much value deity, devotee, spiritual master. They all will appear ordinary for you. So this will be effect on our consciousness because we are offending devotees. We are finding fault with devotees. So here it is mentioned, Arche Vishnu Shladhir Guru Shul Nar Matir Vaishnave Jati Buddhi Vishnu Va Vaishnavanam Kalimal Mathane Pad Tirthe Ambu Buddhi Sri Vishnur Namni Mantre Sakala Kal Kalu Shahe Sabd Samanya Buddhi Vishnu Sarveshwarase Tat Pitar Samadhi Yasya Va Naraki Saha. One who considers the Archamurti to be stone, the spiritual master to be ordinary human being, and a Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste, and mantra of the holy name of Vishnu to be a material vibration, is possessed of hellish intelligence. So one gets this kind of intelligence where he considers the Lord to be ordinary, spiritual master to be ordinary, Vaishnava to be ordinary, holy name to be ordinary. So these four things which are supposed to help one to be liberated, but then he loses value for these four because of offense. Then further Jiva Goswami elaborates what are the more effects of the offenses. So he says that because of the offenses, these 5 things they come. One is crookedness. Sometimes you'll find initially when devotee comes, he's very simple. But the more time he spends, he becomes crooked. One of the reason is because of offenses. Initially, he is very simple, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and he is very respectful. New devotee, you see one of the reason if you compare how much progress we make in our first year of Krishna consciousness, from 0 round to 16 round, from eating everything to not eating onion garlic also, from sleeping at 3 a.m. to getting up at 3 a.m., from wearing all kinds of things to wearing dhoti kurta. What progress you make in that 1 year? Why? Because you see a new person, even if he sees a kartal, he will, touch and he will show a lot of respect. Every aspect. If he sees a devotee in white having a tilak, and so he has a lot of respect for उसे आगे चल गया. और कहीं सैफरन देख लिया तो बाप रे क्या हो गया. Right? और कुछ समय के बाद में अरे क्यों आ गया आज. क्योंकि crookedness comes because of offenses, because of not showing due respect, and because of finding fault, and because of offenses. तो and because of that crookedness, then he understand किससे क्या पूछना है, किससे क्या बात करना है, किसको क्या बोलना है, कौन सा परमिशन कहाँ से निकालना है, कहाँ से क्या मिलता है, कहाँ से क्या नहीं मिलता है. तो ये सब crookedness का पार्ट आ जाता है. Because his heart develops this quality of crookedness. Then faithlessness, uh, he loses that faith. Sometimes you find new devotees. Whenever you ask them, how many of you want to go back home, back to Godhead, सारे नए भक्त हाथ खड़ा कर देंगे जा. और पुराने भक्तों में से कुछ भक्त सोच रहे होंगे बैक टू गॉडहेड इस जन्म में नहीं लग रहा है. फेथलेसनेस आ जाता है, प्रोसेस में भी फेथलेसनेस आ जाता है. तो ये बहुत एक कारण है ऑफेंसेस का. तो ये बहुत सीरियस बताया गया है कि अगर हमें भक्ति में आगे बढ़ना है, वैसे ही भक्ति में हमारा उतना इंटेंसिटी नहीं है, उतना प्योरिटी नहीं है, कंडीशन माइंड है, कंडीशन बॉडी है, पिछले जन्मों में करोड़ों जन्मों का प्रारब्ध है जहाँ पर हमने बिल्कुल भक्ति नहीं की है. तो ऑलरेडी हमारा जो डिफॉल्टर एडमिशन है भक्ति के स्कूल में, और उसके ऊपर आके फिर हम अपराध करेंगे तो फिर हमारे लिए तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. And even senior people, even during Prabhupada disciples, there were some devotees who were very strong natured devotees, and they would speak very harshly to someone, very strongly to someone, and all of them could not continue later on, because it plays a very important role how you take care. And you see who remained, who were very humble. Is Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He was so humble. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, Radha Swami Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, who could continue and were very successful leaders later on, who were very humble, who were very grounded. Sometimes because of success or because of some other reason, or we having godly consciousness, identifying I'm more intelligent, I'm more skilled, and then because of that offending others, then faithlessness comes like that. We don't have that faith that by chanting the holy names of the Lord, I can achieve all success, I can perfect my life. And third is absorption in objects that erode one's faith in the Lord. Third is our absorption in those objects will increase, which will reduce or take away our faith in the Lord. So such things will appear more better for us. We'll feel more happy to be absorbed in such things, like hearing prajalpa, hearing criticism, like talking politically about certain devotee or certain situation, like or being absorbed in the news, mundane news, being absorbed in mundane things. And then fourth is slackness in devotion. Sadhana will become very slack. So you will not find them properly. So most of these devotees will find them, they will, during chanting time, they will go out, and then one hand they will chant, in between they will criticize, in between they will see material nature, and in between they will eat something, in between they will reply by mobile. And like that, their holy name will be full of all these things. So goodness, faithfulness, absorption in objects, like that. So, and they are not able to understand also that what is this? Like that. During Bhagavatam class also, they'll have a lot of difficulty. During Bhagavatam class, they'll be using their mobile. Can you imagine? People will find difficulty to hear even 1 hour class. 1 घंटे की क्लास में भी बैठने में उनको ऐसा लगता है कि पता नहीं प्राण निकल जा रहे हैं. ऐसा क्योंकि वो ऑफेंसेस के कारण लॉर्ड ने पूरा रुचि छीन ली है. And then pride arising from one's own devotion service. देखो कुछ कर नहीं रहा है, जो थोड़ा बहुत कर रहा है उसके लिए भी प्राइड आ जाएगा कि देखो कोई सम्मान नहीं करता मेरे को, यहाँ था ही क्या, कुछ नहीं था जब मैं आया, मेरे कारण देखो इतना कुछ हुआ है, ये हुआ है, वो हुआ है। और वो जो मटेरियल एस्पेक्ट है डिवोशनल सर्विस के, उसके कारण उसको भक्ति समझ के प्राइड आ जाता है। ही मे बी गुड इन सिंगिंग, इट इज अ मटेरियल स्किल, बट उसको लगता है कि देखो मैं बहुत अच्छा भक्त नहीं होता तो इतना अच्छा भगवान के बारे में कैसे गा पाता, या क्लास देना, या मैनेजमेंट करना, या प्लानिंग करना, या कुछ ऐसा करना। तो ही बिकम वेरी प्राउड। और प्राइड के कारण क्या है, ये आ, संसार को इस प्रकार से बनाया गया है कि जो भी चीज आप करते हो वो चीज को करने के लिए और ज्यादा कंडीसिव हो जाता है। जैसे कोई प्रजल्पा करता है तो अगली बार और अच्छा प्रजल्पा कर पाएगा, फिर अगली बार और अच्छा प्रजल्पा कर पाएगा। ये संसार का नियम है, जो भी चीज आप करते हो उसका वर्धन होता रहता है। तो अगर कोई प्रजल्पा कर रहा है तो और प्रजल्पा, और प्रजल्पा। कोई अपराध कर रहा है उसके कारण ये सब होगा, प्राइड आएगा, फिर क्या करेगा, और अपराध करेगा। तो इफ यू फाइंड फॉल्ट, यू आर एम्पावरिंग यू टू फाइंड मोर फॉल्ट, and you find more fault, then you are further empowering you to find more fault, and you are very rapidly progressing on the path of becoming a very good fault finder. तो इसलिए हम करना क्या चाहते हैं वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तजल्पा कर रहे हैं तो धीरे धीरे करके उस डायरेक्शन में ग्रो करेंगे। उसी प्रकार से अगर हम संगत कर रहे हैं, मुझे अच्छे गुण देखने हैं भक्तों में, तो आप उस डायरेक्शन में ग्रो करेंगे। आज कुछ भक्तों में एक दो गुण देख पा रहे हैं, कल और ज्यादा देख पाएंगे, परसों और ज्यादा, फिर आपको हर वैष्णव अच्छा लगेगा क्योंकि हर जगह आपको गुण दिखाई देंगे। और ये बहुत दोनों कनेक्टेड है। जितना खुद के बारे में प्राइड रहेगा उतना दूसरों को हम नीचे देखते हैं, दूसरों के दोस्त दिखते हैं। जितना हम दूसरों के गुण देख रहे हैं उसका सीधा सीधा मीनिंग ये भी है कि हम बहुत हम्बल हैं। आप देखेंगे जो दूसरों के जितना ज्यादा गुण देख पा रहा है उतना उसके अंदर ह्यूमिलिटी होगा। Somebody is able to appreciate, somebody is able to find good qualities in others, reflects that he is very humble. Then only it can happen, otherwise not. तो इसलिए मनुष्य जीवन में खास करके जब हम आते हैं तो हम अपना एनर्जी कहाँ डाल रहे हैं हमको बहुत केयरफुल रहना चाहिए, क्योंकि उस डायरेक्शन में ग्रोथ होता है। देखिए जानवर योनि जो है वो टाइम पास योनि है। टाइम पास योनि अर्थात उसमें कुछ कर नहीं सकते हो आप। जो चेतना है उसी चेतना को बचा के रखना है। आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते, प्रारब्ध को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, चेतना को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, बस रहना है। और शरीर में आपको 10 साल का शरीर है या 20 साल के लिए शरीर है तो रहना पड़ेगा। मनुष्य जीवन में लेकिन ये विशेषता है, मनुष्य जीवन में आप बदल सकते हो, अपनी चेतना को बदल सकते हो। यू कैन मेक अ डिफरेंस इन द ह्यूमन फॉर्म। लेकिन अभी ह्यूमन फॉर्म में आप अपना एनर्जी कहाँ डाल रहे हो उसके ऊपर है। कुछ भक्तों को, और आप देखेंगे भगवान उसमें इंपावर भी करते हैं। जैसे कुछ भक्त हैं उनको पता नहीं कहाँ से इस्कॉन की सारी मसाले वाली न्यूज पता चल जाती है। कई बार आप भी वंडर करते प्रभु आपको पता कहाँ से चल जाता है ये सब कुछ। तो क्यों? क्योंकि लॉर्ड इंपावर करते हैं हर चीज में। आप देखेंगे जैसे कुछ भक्त हैं वो क्लास में बहुत जोक मारते हैं, और कई बार जो है आपके मन में आएगा ये कहाँ से इनको ये जोक मिल जाते हैं, हम ही ऊपर किताब पढ़ रहे हैं। क्योंकि दे गेट दैट एम्पावरमेंट। अब चेतन चरण को वो टेक्निकली चीजों को समझते हैं। देखिए सेम गीता पढ़ते हैं लेकिन भगवान उनको वो रियलाइज करा देते हैं और वो जो है उस हिसाब से कोट करते हैं, बोलते हैं, बताते हैं ऐसा। तो आप क्या करना चाहते हो उसी डायरेक्शन में भगवान आपको एम्पावर करेंगे। अगर आप वर्ल्ड फाइंडिंग करना चाहते हो तो भगवान आपको उसमें निपुण बना देंगे, और अगर आप अच्छे गुण देखना चाहते हो तो भगवान आपको उसमें निपुण बना देंगे। इसलिए ह्यूमन फॉर्म इज अ फॉर्म टू चूज what you want to do. So if you want to improve, then you have to know the serious consequence of offense, and you have to be very careful that we protect ourselves. Otherwise, we will ruin our life. And one of the reasons why we are so much discussing about this, because in Kali Yuga, it becomes very easy to find fault. The Kali Yuga atmosphere is like that. Why? Because people have fault. That is natural in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the ocean of fault. So it is very easy and natural to see fault, but then it has very serious consequence on the devotional service. So we have to be extra careful, extra cautious to avoid this. That's why we are so much discussing. You have to know that no, my life is not meant for this purpose. In my life, I will try to see good, and I can positively, constructive help someone. I will try to do that, but I will not find fault with others. That is between them and their superiors and Krishna. For me, they are object of my service. For me, they are object of my appreciation. That is the thought process which we need to have and cultivate. I have nothing, only one business, to see them in connection to the Lord, to see them that how they are practicing spiritual life and have appreciation for that aspect. Otherwise, these things will help take our devotional service. If one is unable to give up these in spite of being engaged in bhakti, rooted in the association of great devotees, one should understand that all these are the effects of the offense to the name in this life and symptoms of offense committed in the past life as well. So he's saying, like, now suppose in this life we have some crookedness. So that is because of we offended or we committed offense in our previous life. Or sometimes it happens, no? We hear so much, then still we don't get that faith in the process or in the holy name. Why? Because in the previous life we offended. Somebody may be chanting Hare Krishna and we would have told him, क्या ये तुम पागलों की तरह है narration बोलते हो. So because of that it has happened. So whatever it is, now if you want to change, then we have to reverse. We have to appreciate God. See what happens, somebody chanting holy names of the Lord, if you are finding fault, then it becomes offense to the holy name, because he chanting holy names of the Lord, and holy name is purifying, but still we are criticizing him. Still we are speaking against him. Right? So now further he says the 5 effects of the offenses. So he says, just as sadhana bhakti leads to love of Bhagavan, offense results in indifference and ultimately aversion to bhakti. So sadhana will lead to love of Bhagavan, and offenses will lead to indifference and ultimately aversion to bhakti. Indifference means you don't feel to do bhakti. तू चैंटिंग कर लो, ठीक है कर लेते हैं, हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, like that. That is indifference to bhakti. You don't connect to bhakti. You don't feel atmyata with the process of devotional service or bhakti. अपनापन नहीं लगता है. And then ultimately aversion to bhakti. बोले तू चैंटिंग लो, नहीं तू भागवतम क्लास, that is aversion to bhakti. वो ये होता है. हमने डिवोटीज में देखा है कि इस लेवल पे भी आ जाते हैं. ऐसा है. कुछ डिवोटी उनको बोलो तू भागवतम क्लास के लिए मैं छोड़ दो. तो क्यों? क्योंकि इतना ऑफेंस है ऐसा, और ये भक्ति में बहुत बाधा डाल देता है. तो जब साधना भक्ति जो प्रैक्टिस है वो क्या करती है, वो हमारी की जो भी आप देखेंगे अपराध से होता है, उसका उल्टा साधना भक्ति से होता है. तो अगर अच्छा साधना भक्ति कर रहे हैं तो सरलता बढ़ेगी, आपका फेथ बढ़ेगा, रुचि बढ़ेगी, भक्ति को करने के लिए उत्साह बढ़ेगा, और आप विनम्र होंगे. और इसका उल्टा है अपराध से. तो देखेंगे यहाँ पर जो है कुरकुटनेस कौटिल्यम इन्होंने यहाँ रिलेट भी किया है. ओके, हाँ यहाँ पर तो आप देखेंगे वहां पर सरलता है साधना भक्ति से, और यहाँ पर क्या है कुरकुटनेस. अपराध करेंगे तो कुरकुटनेस आएगा, साधना भक्ति अच्छे से करेंगे तो सरलता आएगी. यहाँ पर फेथलेसनेस अश्रद्धा, और यहाँ पर क्या है स्ट्रेंथन द फेथ बाय गिविंग एक्सपीरियंस. साधना भक्ति करेंगे तो फेथ बढ़ेगा, अपराध करेंगे फेथ कम होगा. साधना भक्ति करेंगे तो रुचि बढ़ेगा, और यहाँ पर क्या है रुचि माया में बढ़ेगा, यहाँ पर रुचि कृष्ण में बढ़ेगा. और यहाँ पर है कि भक्ति में स्थैर्य, भक्ति में स्थिरता आएगी, भक्ति में जो है लेजीनेस आएगा, और यहाँ क्या लिखा हुआ है, गिव्स इंथुजियाज्म टू परफॉर्म भक्ति, भक्ति के लिए बहुत उत्साह बढ़ेगा, यहाँ प्राइड आएगा, यहाँ। तो जो साधना भक्ति के कारण जो होना चाहिए वो ना होने के कारण, क्योंकि हम अपराध कर रहे हैं, कर तो साधना भक्ति रहे हैं, लेकिन साधना भक्ति के साथ क्योंकि अपराध कर रहे हैं, तो साधना भक्ति का विपरीत रिजल्ट आएगा आपके जीवन। क्यों? क्योंकि अपराध कर रहे हैं। तो इसलिए साधना भक्ति के साथ में अपराध ना करना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एक एस्पेक्ट है जो मदद करेगा साधना भक्ति को आगे करने के लिए। ऐसा है। इसलिए आप देखेंगे हिजोलिन साधनाथ महाराज जी बार बार एक चीज बोलते हैं, बी ग्रेटफुल, बी ग्रेटफुल, बी ग्रेटफुल। महाराज नहीं चाहते कि आप कुछ ज्यादा साधना करो, ज्यादा सेवा करो, ज्यादा कुछ बड़ा करो, जिससे कि आपकी कृतज्ञता हृदय में कम हो जाए। क्योंकि ग्रेटफुल हार्ट नहीं रहेगा तो फिर फॉल्ट फाइंडिंग चालू हो जाएगा, फिर जो है आपकी भक्ति के लिए वो सही नहीं। तो आप उतना करो जितना करके आप कृतज्ञ रहो, लेकिन कृतज्ञ रहना बहुत जरूरी है। तो इसलिए साधना भक्ति विद ग्रैटिट्यूड ये बहुत जरूरी है, और साधना भक्ति विद ऑफेंसेस हमको अवॉइड करना है। तो ग्रेटफुल हार्ट जो रहता है वो आप देखेंगे वो अच्छे चीजों को देख लेता है, अच्छे गुणों को देख लेता है, भक्ति के प्रति उसमें अप्रिशिएशन होता है कि कृष्णा ने मुझे इतना अच्छा मौका दिया है। और ये वास्तव में आप मेडिटेट करेंगे तो बहुत बड़ा कृपा है। करोड़ों जन्मों के बाद में हमको ये मौका मिला है कि हम भगवान का नाम जप कर पा रहे हैं। अगर प्रभुपाद जी जैसे आचार्य से नहीं जुड़ते, भक्तों से नहीं जुड़ते, तो हमको ये पता ही नहीं चलता कि भगवान के नाम की महिमा क्या है। कहीं किसी कोई अ, जिंदगी में शायद एक बार या दो बार कहीं किसी सत्संग प्रोग्राम में जाते तो वहां पीछे बैठ के थोड़ा सा हरे कृष्ण हरे राम बोल लेते, इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं करते हैं जिंदगी में। लेकिन ये भगवान की कृपा है कि हमको पता चला। भारत में रहते हुए हम भगवत गीता कई बार सुनते या बोलते भी, लेकिन पढ़ते कभी नहीं। लेकिन ये भगवान की कृपा है। जब मेरे पिताजी भक्त बने तो मैंने पिताजी से पूछा कि पिताजी आपने गीता पढ़ा था क्या? तो पिताजी बोले कि नहीं पढ़ा था। जबकि गीता उन्होंने सुना है, गीता भारत में हर किसी के पास है, लेकिन कोई नहीं पढ़ता है, क्योंकि उसको पढ़ने की इच्छा तो भक्तों के द्वारा आती। जब हम कृतज्ञता के साथ में करेंगे, कितना बड़ा मौका मिला है, और उस पर ध्यान रखेंगे, ये छोटी चीज है। अधिकार देखिए, हमारे अहंकार के कारण, हमारे जो है खुद के अनर्थ के कारण दूसरों में हम दोष देखते हैं। तो हमें देखना चाहिए कि जो दोष बुद्धि है ये हमको भगवान से दूर लेके जाएगी, ये भगवान के पास लेके नहीं जाएगी। कोई भक्त बोल सकता है नहीं प्रभु जी, बट उसमें असली में फॉल्ट है। तो एक बार गौर कृष्ण महाराज जो हैं राधेश्याम प्रभु उनको बोल रहे थे कि देखो महाराज ये भक्त जो है रिस्पेक्ट नहीं देता है। गौर कृष्ण महाराज बताए कि ही इज नॉट रिस्पेक्टिंग, दैट इज अ फॉल्ट। बट राधेश्याम प्रभु तो हमली उनको ऐसे बोल रहे थे, तो गौर कृष्ण महाराज भी उनको बता रहे थे कि बट अवर एक्सपेक्टिंग रिस्पेक्ट फ्रॉम हिम इज अ मोर बिगर फॉल्ट। वैसे ही राधानाथ महाराज जी बोलते हैं कि किसी में दोष है वो तो दोष है, बट अवर सीइंग फॉल्ट इन देम इज अ बिगर फॉल्ट। ऐसा है। क्यों? क्योंकि वो हमारी भक्ति के लिए बाधा है। तो हमें चिंता नहीं करना है, वो कृष्ण भगवान के अंश हैं, भगवान देखेंगे, उनके गुरुजन देखेंगे। हाँ, अगर आप उनके मेंटर हैं, आपको सेवा दिया गया है, तो आप सेवा भाव में उनको मदद कर सकते हो, और आपको भी केयरफुल रहना पड़ेगा। ऐसा बताया गया है शास्त्रों में, हरिभक्ति विलास में, कि अगर कोई सन्यासी एक नए भक्त का भी अपराध करता है तो सन्यासी का फॉल डाउन हो जाए। इतना सीरियस बताया गया, आप सोचिए। तो जो कोई उस पोजीशन में भी है जहां पर उनको करेक्शन करना है, लोगों को ट्रेन करना है, उसमें भी ही हैज टू हैव अ हेल्पफुल हार्ट, दैट आई वांट टू हेल्प हिम, नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ एक्चुअली सीइंग फॉल्ट एंड ट्राइंग टू जज हिम। तो वन हैज टू बी वेरी केयरफुल, इट इज वेरी सीरियस दैट हम दूसरों का अपराध ना करें या दूसरों में फॉल्ट ना देखें। ऐसा। तो ये पांचों चीज जो है अपराध के कारण ऐसे होता है।